Hi everyone, it's been 9 weeks since my last update, and I just want to show you today what I've built in the past 2 months. During my last episode, we were looking at the Midway games right here in the center, and I wasn't so sure yet what I was going to do with the area beyond the Midway games. So I guess I'll just walk you quickly through it, starting with the Flying Dutchman, a bit of Dutch pride here in this park. Of course, we know this one. It's actually a bit of a normal fairground, one of these mobile rides that just gets transported from town to town. And I guess I would like to imagine that this ride has been with the park since the very beginning, maybe, or that it has a special place in the hearts of the founders of the park. Whatever the reason, we made it permanent here, I would say, and it's been sponsored by KLM, that's Royal Dutch Airlines. And there are a couple of suitcases there in the Dutch colors. There's a little bit of a flag going on here, and there are lampposts that also kind of resemble the red and white. And then there's the typical KLM blue that I've used for the entire ride and its surroundings. Just a bit of national pride here, and I thought it would look great for these for this ride. It's a funny ride. It's a very I actually went into one of those in Tivoli in Denmark, in Copenhagen. It's really is a wild experience, to be honest. You don't expect it when you look at it, but yeah, here it is on tucked right next to the Andromeda. What do you call it? Arcade, and just happy with how it came along. We means me, by the way. I kept the retainer wall and I kind of stretched it onwards, thinking that this was probably a precarious stretch of the berm where for some reason they needed a retainer wall, whereas the rest is just still very organic. And that brings us to the next area. It's the Chinese Pavilion. Yes, it's multi-level, and yes, it actually works. In other words, there's an invisible path underneath the cover here, and you have two stores. One is called Hot and Spicy, which I just kind of turned into a very large kitchen. Not too much to see here, but it does the trick. And then the other one is called Creamy Stuff. Typical Chinese names, I would say. And so they really work. And you can just sit here and, enjoy the view, enjoy this coaster, which I'll be talking about in a moment. And of course, having the train pass you by, and it's just a very nice part of the park to kind of catch a breather and rest your feet and enjoy some of the typical Asian staples of the Asian cuisine. And then at the ground level there's frozen sludge and there's cold fish sushi. And I kind of made all these stores the same because, to be quite honest, I just can't really be arsed with making different shops here. Here are the restrooms, and last but not least, I think we have, if I'm not mistaken, a Street Fox Coffee. For some reason called Beijing Burning, but it does the trick. And, just very happy how it turned out. It's a very kind of octagonal shape, but for some reason it just kind of works, and the roof is very intrinsic. And I think there was, if this were to exist in reality, this would be a very impressive part. Then, probably my favorite part here is a little pip shop. And it works. It has these bubbles coming out, kind of giving you that water feeling there, and it's just very cute. I got all of these from the what do you call it? From the workshop and TMTK items. It just looks great. It really works. It's very charming, and so I'm very happy with it. A lot of this stuff is from Hydro, as always. I forgot actually, of course there was the ride. I didn't know where to place it at first. Well, I put it right at the head of the Midway games, figuring it would look well when you're making your way through it. Very colorful and kind of a nice transition, I would say, to the rest of the area. It's called Rainbow Dodgems. It was actually built in June, and so I guess I kind of had the Pride Month in my head and decided to go with a nice, colorful rainbow theme that also matches the ride. So here we have it. It's very simple. It has just kind of an alley for an entrance right here. You'd go in here. Normally it would stretch further if there was a need for that. Otherwise you just make an immediate right, get out at the other side, and you know, that's just about it. I kept it very lightweight, and I'm very happy with how it turned out. So basically I just kept the flat ride, added this roof structure around it, and I don't know, it just kind of, it makes it complete, and it still keeps the character of the ride, which I just find very charming. I've heard many opinions on the look and feel of this flat ride. Some people think it looks cheap, some people wish it weren't so tall. You know what, the moment you try to put a cover on it, you just really need a huge cover that looks out of place, and I just kept it simple, and you know what, keep it going, it looks fine. Moving on, this is one bridge towards the, I guess, the newer section of the park, but we'll just keep going because the coaster, which we've already seen in the previous update, is called Red Revenge. Tacky name, it does the trick. This is where you get in. You start with a little, what do you call it, kettle pen right here. One trick, by the way, if you use the roof pieces, they would look the same from the inside, and a roof never looks like that from the inside. So just use the I think these are from the Spooky set. It just gives it a finishing touch. You know, these wooden plank, I think they're floor pieces. They just, you know, it just makes it all seem right. Then you kind of meander your way through a bit of a landscaped area. Not too much. This is something I've seen in a lot of American parks where they just kind of keep the lawn, they keep the grass as is. You know, they don't bother too much with too many intrinsic landscaping, save for a couple of areas because it's expensive, and I guess they want to put their budget to use in other sections. And so it is kind of, it gives you a very good feeling when you can actually put the grass in Planet Coaster to use, and you can only do that when you frame it with other paths and things around it, so that it doesn't look like it's a part that you didn't build on. Now it looks like it's meant to be, you know, like we just want to have that grass there by design. Then you get into another kettle pen. There are these lovely ventilators, also built by my darling Hydro, and then you meander your way through it. There's a nice circle here. You get under a canopy. I think in America, in Miami, they would call this the lanai. And by the way, this park isn't set in America. I guess it's somewhere. Actually, I have no idea. Let's just imagine there's a continent between America and Europe, and that's where my park lives. And then you get to Red Revenge. The station itself isn't anything too special, but it does the trick. You know, it's one of the hardest tricks to make a good looking station. I did go out of my way for the other coaster, which we'll be looking at in a moment. But the area that I'm more proud of, actually, is the backstage part. And maybe it's a bit too thick for a transfer track, but it works. And I think I can use it as a sort of a template for other transfer tracks throughout the park. So, kind of happy with it. It looks fine. This is where I guess there's a down under for the station area, so there's a typical entrance with what do you call it, a numpad or an identification pen or whatever you call it. And you know, I'm very happy with how it turned out. This is as dirty as you can get the backstage in Planet Coaster. We've had a discussion about that on the Planco Academy Discord. We had a couple of good tips going on there, but in the end, the game looks very clean. It's just the way it is. But working a bit with the terrain paint, adding some clutter and some stuff that you wouldn't like to see, but it's there. That kind of does the trick. Using some of those decals, like the one here, just to add a bit of smudge and grudge. I guess that works. Now, one big flaw in my design, which I just figured out way too late. I could add some brakes to this hill or to the slope here, because otherwise I guess you'd be literally crashing into the into this area, and I also don't really know how I feel about that, but it is what it is. I don't want to change it. I tried changing it over the weekend, but the thing is, I wouldn't have enough clearance then between the lower part and the higher part. And so after frustrating 1.5 hours, I decided to just leave it as it is. It's a flaw on my part, but you know what? You gotta keep it moving, and otherwise you just burn yourself out on one small piece. Another tip that I would like to give, by the way, I've been using the concrete paint here for the asphalt, so I haven't used the tarmac or asphalt. I actually used the concrete paint, and I like bordering my I like topping it off by using the 2 meter Q path, the concrete one, which looks just so clean, and it allows you to kind of, well, I kind of colored outside of the edges here, as you can see, but it allows you to have real clean lines here. This is, you know, it just makes the concrete kind of framed. It frames the backstage area. It frames the asphalt. And I guess this is where the technicians would be walking. Obviously, it's not functional as I've used a Q path here, but I really like how it just frames everything. I did the same right here in this extremely oddly shaded backstage area, but then again, I guess this is just how the path developed itself. I used the Q path all around it. It connects nicely to this little backstage area, and I'm just, oh, I see something that I'm going to repair right now on the spot. Off you go. You know, it just kind of blends in nicely. This is where you'll be walking, and this is where for the rest the cars will be making their way. I haven't custom supported this coaster yet, so I'm definitely going to kind of try to solve this area right here. As you can see, there's a big part fenced off because this is where the coaster gets closest to the ground. So you don't want to jump into that with your car. I'm not sure if it needs to be this rigorously as I've done here, but then again, you can't really cut corners, so not sure yet how that's going to work out. But at the same time, I'm quite happy with how it looks. Alright, moving on, I guess. Oh, there's one thing I wanted to show you that I'm actually kind of proud of, if I can be honest with you. Where was it? Yeah, so I made a loading bay, and it's just one piece. I'm going to put it on the workshop later on. It consists of a lot of TMTK pieces, obviously. It has a siren right here, then it has this control panel, actually meant for coasters, but I just imagine it's a way to open the, what do you call it, the pull-up door. There must be a better word for that. Then there's an interesting looking electrical box, that's right, danger hazard sign, a camera that I kind of push back into the wall. I know they're bulky, I know they're huge, but it just always, I just love seeing it, you know, I just like using it for little cinematic parts, and it just feels right to me. And there are a couple of electricity cables. It's a 4 meter tall structure. There's a beam underneath so that you can move it in any direction, and so that you can also bury it appropriately. So if the beam is buried under ground level, then you've done a good job. And the frame is made of real track pieces, which I guess is just the best way to make it look a bit industrial. So I'm very happy with it. It just, I never really figured out a way to, you know, to have a cargo bay and have a loading bay. All of the doors were either too small or ridiculously tall, but then they were too narrow. So I'm very happy with this solution, and you'll find it on the workshop soon enough. Last but not least, this is going to be a short update because actually I want to get back to playing. There's the food truck. I made it all myself by scratch, starting from scratch. Maybe it makes its way to the workshop one day, but for now I'm greedy and it just stays with me. There we go. Hey. It just looks lovely. You know, it's just, again, filled with pieces from Hydro. I just love how it looks. The speaker is too big, but you know what, that's okay. I could get a smaller speaker from the workshop, I guess, and then bury this one underneath, but it's fine. This is just a typical billboard, and yeah, it just looks great, and I'm going to be using it for many other areas in the park if I just feel like, you know what, this is not important enough to put a restaurant, and I also don't want to put a vending machine. but then I'll just use a food truck, which is recolorable, and it'll do the trick. So well, I'm not afraid to admit it, I'm pretty proud of it. Alright, is there anything else that I should be showing you already? Well, I guess I could give you a teaser of this area, just a quickie. Working on some magical stuff right here. The Odeon Theater is from an older park. As you know, I like to recycle things that, especially of projects that never really came to light. And I just love the structure. It's very modest in size. It's only it's below 400 pieces, but it really has its own personality. Then there's a 90s shop here, toilets, Junke und Crepe, and yeah, it just works. You know, it's just very cute. And I never do interiors. I just can't be bothered with it. I don't want to burn out on adding little things that I will never look at again. So it's very blocky, but you know what? It works. It has backstage crap. It has a cargo bay, and yeah, I'm just very happy with it. Of course, can't leave without showing you my favorite Go Away Green, borrowed from the great Walt Disney. And I guess that's all there's to see. I did promise you that I would show you the station. So this is a dueling coaster. As you know, I suck at coasters, but for some reason this is my second coaster, or if you want to say second and third, in the park that actually doesn't look like crap. So here you go. It's the one with the motorcycles. I love them, by the way. They did such an amazing job. I barely see anyone use them in their parks. I think it's really a shame. It's the closest we get to having some sort of a Tron coaster going on in a park. So I went with the classic black versus white theme. You go right here with the tracks slightly angled inwards, so you get real close to each other before you both divert into the opposite direction. And then black goes below white, white goes below black. Then you both kind of follow the same pattern, mirrored. And in the end, you just kind of go back. And usually one of the two wins. I'm not sure how it works. It's not like it's always the white or the black one that wins. I've only tested it without riders, so we'll see how that goes. But I'm very happy with the project. It's just real cool. I can't wait to add more foliage and you know, landscaping, and just really make it feel more embedded. But that's for another update. So I guess we're done. Station is something I've never done before, by the way. It's weird. It's kind of, it's meant to sort of simulate or reflect, I should say, the velocity of speed. And I think I kind of got the concept. If that's not the first thing you think about, I wouldn't be insulted, because I still think it's a very unique concept, and I'm just really proud how it turned out. So let's hope you all like it the moment I put a POV video up there, and we'll see about it. Alright, that's all for today. Thank you for watching, guys. Bye bye.